Are we set?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Welcome, everyone. This is a information meeting regarding the new Senior and Community Center. And also, we have a quorum here, so we're going to be opening up first our MSCC committee meeting, the building committee meeting. And once we open up the committee meeting, we're just going to move into the information session. At the end of the session, we'll close out the committee. With that, I'm opening the committee meeting as a group. The committee now is meeting for the purpose of providing information to the town regarding the new revised proposal. For the purpose of the people watching it, can we go around the table?
Actually, could you just announce that we're being recorded?
Yes, thank you. We are being recorded.
Thank you.
Thank you. Keep me honest here. And if we could go around the table and just introduce ourselves. Peg?
I'm Peg Noguera from the Council on Aging and from this committee.
Dave Kersey.
Dave Kersey, police.
Vice Chair of the committee.
Phil Sipley, Chair of the Committee and on Council on Aging.
I'm Mike Petrovic. I'm an architect that's been working on the project.
I'm Elena Brugos. I'm Chair of the Mendon Select Board and also currently the alternate Select Board member of the committee.
Mike Goddard, Select Board, and the primary member of the committee for the Select Board.
Recently switched, yes.
And remotely, we have Jeremy, if you could introduce yourself.
Hi, yes, good evening, everyone. My name is Jeremy Stoll. I'm the Mendon Town Administrator.
Thank you.
We should probably introduce the other two members, even though they're not sitting up here, of the committee.
Sure.
Karen Sipley and
Two
Kathy Hunt.
volunteers? Yeah, we can do that. We have two volunteers in the audience, Karen Sipley and
Kathy Hunt.
Kathy Hunt, who volunteered with the committee.
Thank you.
Okay. With that, the committee is now going to move to the open information session. And I'd like to share a slide or two, and we're going to we'll go through our agenda quickly. So, technology. I'm searching for my file. I'll be with you in a second.
I've been there.
Hang on one, please. Information meeting. I could go share screen and bring it up. We'll share screen. And with that, I'll bring up my PowerPoint. Okay, I just wanted to briefly review the agenda we're going through tonight. We'll talk a little bit about the history. I think a lot of people have heard it, but we'll speak it to it again. We'll give you, from the committee standpoint, an overview of where we're at. We'll move into the design element with architect Mike Petrovic. We'll have some discussion from Jeremy regarding the cost impact to the town. We'll then move to select board's comments. And again, I'd like to make this pretty brief and then go in Q&A sessions. Anyone in attendance can always raise their hand and ask a question. We also have questions that have come in from the townspeople. We'll review and record it just to make sure we capture all those as well. With that, just some background and history on the community center. After the defeated vote back in May, we looked back at the needs and we realized the town still needs this. It's a vital need to the town. We've been working for the first study probably about 9 or 10 years ago when they did a needs analysis of the building. 2 additional design reviews were conducted, but they never made it to the voters in the subsequent 5 years. And the reason they didn't is because the priorities in the town were for a police station, Dave, and I think we had some school activity that we needed to take care of first. And it was agreed upon then that the senior center would be deferred until these priorities were satisfied. Then we moved into the design review And we went to the voters, we passed town meeting, we lost the ballot vote by 52 votes. And we said, okay, what are the key issues? There were a lot of interesting areas around what was needed by the town, other than the senior center, which we'll talk about as we go through this. And also there's consideration to cost. So we try to do our due diligence, but we still come back to the same point, is that the services and what's being performed for the people today are inadequate because of the facility. It's not fully ADA compliant. I don't know if anybody's been there, but if you go try to get up to the second floor, it's difficult, and if you ever had to bring a gurney out of the second floor, it'd be impossible. The facility doesn't have enough parking. It doesn't have the space needed to run multiple functions at one given time. And it's inadequate for the emergency services that we also provide as based out of that building. If the town would need emergency services, it's being inadequate. In response to the town, we did say, okay, let's see the best we can do. So we took the needs and said, if we take the needs and try to reduce the building, we took the $13.2 million and reduced that to 11.9. We took a look at the square footage, the implications, we reduced the building. The implications went from 11,676 square feet down to 9,600 square feet. So we reduced the building to try to reduce the impact of the townspeople. What I'm asking everyone and urging everyone to do through these sessions is to be informed. We have committee meetings that are posted on the website. Typically, they run every 2 weeks. The people are welcome to join via remote and also in person. And if you have any questions, Peg and I are always available, and any other committee member. Okay, that's all I'm going to do for the intro of the background. What I'd like to do now is to turn this over to Mike, Mike Petrovic from the design architect firm. He's been with us through several of these renditions, so it's not like he's not aware of our needs. And I'll let him speak about the new design.
Thanks,
I will
Phil.
stop sharing. I stop sharing, you're sharing.
I'm sharing. Good evening. My name is Mike Petrovic, and I've been working on this project since 2018. Prepared many iterations based upon the committee's desires to pursue the project. Excuse me, looked at many different options down at the existing site, looked at several new sites around town, and I'm just going to go through a little bit of that. But first, a little bit about who I am. We're getting some feedback. Let me turn my mic off. So I think I've taken care of that feedback.
Turn your speaker volume all the way down.
Okay. I'm going to stop sharing for a second.
Phil, if you can mute too, I think that would help.
I think I am muted.
Oh, yeah, no, you're not.
I'm not?
There. Oh. That might have been bad. Hang on. Shouldn't have done that. Mute. I muted everyone. All right.
Okay.
So leave yours alone.
Okay, so is that better?
No, we're good.
That's better.
Okay, good, thank you.
Thanks, Dan.
So a little bit about myself. I'm an architect, 35 years of experience, 20 years in the public realm, construction experience with 30-plus projects in senior center and municipal design.
Still got that. It's repeating you.
Phil, you do need to mute. Can you, yeah. No? Somebody's.
Is that better?
Is that
Yeah,
better?
somebody is unmuted somehow or something. I don't understand.
If I turn my mic on,
You're muted, you're muted. There shouldn't be any feedback. Remote. Maybe it's me.
I did what you told me to do.
You can edit all this out, right?
Oh, Tyler fixes all these wonderful things, that's great.
All right, Dan, let's try that. Is that good?
Yeah.
Okay. So again, I'm Mike Petrovic, I'm the architect. I've got 35 years of experience in working in municipal projects. I've done 4 senior center projects. Most recently, that includes Walpole and Wellesley, Massachusetts. On my team in providing the estimating backup for what we're doing is PM&C. They're a construction management and estimating company. Over 20 years of cost estimating, so we feel like their work is very reliable in backing us up in providing accurate market pricing for these conceptual designs. So looking at the Mendon Senior Center, again, I look at my experience. We've done a couple senior centers, a couple of fire stations, so we really do a lot of smaller municipal work, and we understand that the dynamic that goes on, and that time is money, and we work very hard. What we start off with is something called a feasibility study, which is conducted to determine project viability. Is the project possible? Is it practical? Is it financially viable? Research involves things like site selection, characteristics of the selected site, compliance with zoning and land use rules, building programming, preliminary conceptual building design and site design, the technical aspects of the building, and cost analysis. The benefits of all of that are that you get to make informed decisions and uncover unknowns. So a little bit about this project, as someone asked me earlier, how long have I been working on this? And since 2018 in many different iterations, in fact, 2 different firms, a partnership and then my own firm. In 2021, we revisited this to do a reduced scope on the project. In May 2024, we presented a $13 million, 11,600 square foot option that was rejected by the town, and here we are back in September, as Phil mentioned, with a 9,600 square foot option that's $11.9 million. So, and the way we approach this is that we do a study of the spaces that are needed, and we worked with the committee and the staff at the senior center to understand what their day is like, how many people they serve, the programs that they do, then the people that they turn away and the programs they can't do. And we arrive at this program of spaces that are needed and the size of them and the people that it needs to accommodate. Well, you can't read this. This is the study that the committee did, looking at all of the programming and all of the people that this facility would like to serve, and they currently can't serve at the existing facility. So all of that is built into that program matrix that I just showed you. We looked at several sites, and the committee decided to look at the North Avenue Route 16 site. Previously, the site had a little bit more development on it in our last iteration. We've reduced the size of the building, reduced the amount of impact on the site, reduced the amount of development on the site to provide plenty of parking for the building that we've got at 9,600 square feet. There is a new driveway going into the site. And so that this is looking at the site and its total development. This is zooming in, looking at how the site would be developed. There would be a single access onto the site. You could go multiple ways around the site. And we really direct traffic through the site that it's very comfortable for seniors and people to navigate the site without being confused. As I mentioned, our program, we've reduced this building to 9,600 square feet. The functions are the same. Some of the room sizes have gotten smaller. The rooms that have maintained their size, which was really desirable by the committee and by the center staff, are the multi-purpose room being able to handle about 125 people. All of the other spaces, for the most part, remained the same. We moved some spaces around and made things a little bit smaller. Took a couple of functions that had been previously on this main floor and removed them to the lower level. And we made use of what is a second large meeting room on the lower level, which is accessible by the community on a regular basis. That it has a room divider and can serve as 2 activity spaces or 1 large activity space for the senior center. So the goal here is to get as many rooms as possible to be multifunctional. The exterior of the building really hasn't changed a whole lot from the initial design. We removed some sections of the building to reduce, again, the scale and the size of the building, but we kept the architecture about the same. It was the committee's feeling that the architecture really worked for the community, that it would be a nice feature as entering the community in that site from Route 16 and North Avenue. This is the back side of the building. This is the large community room. Has a full walkout accessible lower level. On the lower right here of the building is that large meeting space. So there is direct access to the outdoors, so that while the senior center is not functioning and open, the community can access that room through the lower level, and it has a dedicated restroom, so it's kind of a self-contained space. And this is just another level view looking at the exterior of the building. Lastly, I mentioned our cost estimate that we had gotten completed, and I'm just going to move this out of the way. And you can see that there's an entire document that's back up for this, which the committee has in there. It shows how we arrived at these numbers, and so we are at 11.9 total cost of construction, or total project cost for the project. I'll stop sharing now.
I guess at this point, Jeremy, I'd like to turn it over to you for a minute, just to give your input regarding the impact of the cost of 11.9.
Yeah, certainly. Thank you, Phil. And thank you to the Senior Community Center Building Committee for having me join tonight. There are a lot of moving pieces in this. There's a bunch of different ways that one can kind of slice a bond issuance and an analysis. So I went back and forth a number of times with our financial advisors. So to take a momentary step back, but still stay at pretty high level. The town is not super well versed in being in debt capital markets, so we've got professionals who help us out with this sort of thing. It's a great way to utilize consultants. So in meeting with them, they structured the debt issuance in a way that made sense for our current debt profile and makes sense for, you don't want to borrow it all right away and pay interest on a bunch of debt without having to spend the money. So we timed the borrowings relative to our perceived cash flows to minimize the overall financial impact to the town. When we presented this to voters in the spring at $13.2 million, we had an annual taxpayer impact for a $500,000 valuation of about $150, just shy of $150 per year. This issuance at 11.9 and change has a annual tax impact for a $500,000 home at around $135. So it's structured similarly to the previous one, where we're borrowing 90% of the same par amount, and we have about a 90% taxpayer impact that we had before. So we're looking at about $135. So this committee, saw the results in the spring, said we still have the need, but we want to make it more financially palatable to the community, shrunk it by about 10%, and the taxpayer impact will be about 10%. I give the caveat that the timing of borrowing, the interest rate received, the individual assessments that people have relative to what the assessed value is around town, will mean that the direct impact will vary a little bit, and no one will likely see that exact $135. But that's the order of magnitude. We're looking at about 10% less of a taxpayer impact than we had anticipated with the spring issuance.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Thank you, Jeremy. Any thoughts or comments from those?
Elena or Mike?
So I know, well, one thing is, relative to this project, I know a lot of questions have come up about the capital projects for the town as a whole, and I wondered, actually, I think Mike Goddard, you have thoughts on that, and Jeremy, you did as well, because I know as a select board member, I've heard a lot from the community about how this project fits in with the town's other capital needs. So, for example, we heard from a lot of people about the need for additional sports fields, like practice fields in town, as well as some other capital projects. And so I guess I was hoping that, Mike or Jeremy, if you could address some of those questions as well.
I think it's a great point, and Jeremy, just for real quick, I think it's broader context than just capital projects, but if you think about the master plan that was just completed and just the overall direction of the town, this is just one piece of a strategy, if you will. There is a need, so we're looking at a way to address that need, but it's not a thing unto itself. So, and Mike, could I ask you to pull up just the footprint, the first footprint slide that showed where it sat on the Orchard property?
Sure can.
So when you think about this is, we have a need from, a social services standpoint for the town. So we're looking to address it, not just both the senior need as well as emergency management, a lot of social outreach that occurs here, visiting nurses, et cetera. So this is to me a piece of that strategy to say, how do we deal with the fact that our current facility is inadequate, and what can we do about it? So this is one step towards addressing that. But if you look at this map as an example, we also are looking at it from an economic development standpoint, possibly a housing standpoint, to say, what else can we do with this town-owned property? If we were to put the senior center here, if you look at the back half of this land, it'd be interesting to say, could we do age-restricted multi-use, as an example? So we've just got some zoning overlays added, I think 3 meetings ago. We were thinking we could do something here. This area is being developed on the top left corner, so this is the bigger point here, within context, this is one piece of a larger puzzle, and that's what we want to get across. So when people look at this, they say, why do I need that? Well, we need this because our current facilities are inadequate, but also because it's a piece of a larger strategy for the town to move us ahead, both from a social services standpoint, recreational needs, fields, et cetera, which we're looking at through a separate committee. So for those people that are listening to this or have this idea saying, where's mine, or what's in it for me, this is just one piece of a broader strategy for the town to start to address the many needs we know that are out there.
Yeah, to that point, Mike and Elena, I think what I've seen with the Capital Committee and with the Select Board in the past year is that it's starting to gel around a master plan and a strategy that doesn't just address pieces and parts. I've lived here for 40-some years, and for the most part, I've seen pieces and parts. I applaud the Select Board and a bunch of working groups that are trying to now address the need for fields. That's real. I've raised kids here. I've got grandkids that play on fields, and we go all over the place. They're also looking at affordable housing and other multi-use. We're using about little less than 3 acres of that whole parcel of 20-some acres. So there's an additional 20 acres that are available to build other things on. And it fits nice with the cornerstone of the town. And I think the master plan that you folks are driving from the Select Board is really a key element that you need to consider when you vote for this. This is not this or nothing. This is part of a larger strategy that's going to happen.
Just to give credit where credit is due, it was the planning board, I believe, that drove the master plan, and there was a master plan committee. So, and Mendon was awarded, was given an award by CMRPC for planning because of this master plan. So we really are just in a position to take the data and the input from that master plan and use it for multiple projects. This senior and community center being one part that is discussed, that need is discussed in the master plan as well as others.
Any other comments from the committee members, Dave, Peg?
Phil, if I could just build off a little bit of what Member Goddard had said.
Sure, John.
Yeah, this is a holistic approach. This is not one-off. This is not kind of squeaky wheel gets the attention. This is measured and thoughtful within the context of what has been identified as town infrastructure needs writ large. So I want to be clear that in the next couple of budget cycles, a formal capital plan and capital budget will be an increasingly large piece of thinking about what forecasting and budgeting and town needs are. So as we look at what available resources are, investing in deferred maintenance, expanding services, expanding facilities, improving infrastructure are all pieces of that. And this is, albeit a large one, this is one of the first efforts in that cohesive approach to what town needs are.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Thank you, Chairman.
Any other comments?
Any other comments from the committee or the panel?
I open it up to any questions
you
you have from the
the audience here or people who are on the vote.
I'd ask you
I'd
if
ask
you
you
do
if
have
you have a question.
to step up to the mic. It might be easier to hear you. Any questions? Any concerns? If I would be so bold, does this make sense to you or you? Okay. What I'd like to do, because we are recording this, and for the benefit of the other folks here, maybe Peg and I can go back and forth and share questions that have come in, and this is a frequently asked questions document that's come through, and we've responded to the questions that come in. And the first one, what are the challenges with the existing building? I think, Peg, do you want to handle some of these? Because
I will. You actually talked about some of it in the beginning in your introduction, but the building is about 35 years old. It was built by volunteers. That's why it almost looks like it's in the shape of a house. And then 15 years after that, they added the second floor, which is very small, because if you've been there and you've been upstairs, you know that it's definitely an add-on. But in Mendon's population, the seniors are 28% of the population. You're looking at 1,700 people, and we have a capacity of about 70. So some of our programs, we're not able to take in everybody who would like to join us. Also, we have a very small kitchen. We're only able to do lunches twice a week. We're hoping that we could do it more often. Some people, this is their basic lunch that they eat during the day, and it's an opportunity for socialization. Restricted office space lacks confidentiality, and if any of you have ever been anywhere where you want to discuss a personal matter, you don't want to discuss it in front of an open room of 20 or 15 people. You want your private time, and we need office space. We have definitely insufficient parking. I mean, to me, that is one of the major issues. A lot of us that are a little bit younger park across the street and run like heck to try and get across before we're killed. But anyway, it's kind of dangerous down there. We do not have enough parking, and we have kind of outdated electrical and plumbing issues. Now, some of you may realize that our senior center is the designated emergency services place. If there was ever an emergency, our capacity for that would only be 35. So if we had a town emergency, we have a generator, we have the food pantry, people would come to us for sanctuary. And after number 35, we'd have to turn you away.
I don't know, Dave, if you want to add to some of that, your thoughts?
Yeah, the facility, we need a facility. That one obviously is outdated. It was outdated the minute we started using it, but unfortunately with the town, looking at the bigger picture, we don't have buildings that could facilitate an emergency management center, and we've kind of piecemealed it together, where when we built the new police station, we put the ops center where the dispatch center would be, because we found cost savings by regionalizing with another town, so that dispatch center turned into an emergency management center for communication and ops. And actually the way it's built is if that building actually, everything fell apart around it, that center would still be standing. So we've invested there, and now we need to actually invest where we would actually put people during an emergency. Right now we have a school as a backup, but if school was in session and that part of the town wasn't affected, then we can't use the school, because the school has to use the school. So we have limited facilities of 35 people. The facility is outdated, the generator is gonna be replaced this year. And it just wouldn't house a true emergency. We've had them before, back in 2007, 8, when we had the hurricanes that came through. And we had nowhere to put people. We had Bellingham Street closed for a week, and there were people without water and facilities and showers. And what we did, we actually trucked water down there and tried to help them out in that direction. But beyond that, we have nothing to really facilitate this town. And again, it's a bigger picture, a bigger investment in the community, in a building that definitely is needed and necessary. To follow back on the bigger picture too, we often have in the town put the needs aside, even though they've been true needs. And I'd hate to see this project keep putting behind like the police station did. We needed a police station 20 years ago, and we just kept pushing it aside, and the cost grew, the need grew, to the point where we had trailers outside, and we were taking over part of town hall, and the building was condemned. Not that we're there with the current senior center now, but if the project gets pushing off, eventually we'll be there, and the cost will be 3-4 times the cost, just like the police station was. So it's an investment in our future right now, and that's really why we need the building.
Also, the lot itself is already town-owned land. It was bought specifically for municipal purposes, and so it's an ideal location for us.
Yeah, and I'm gonna jump around on both those points a little bit. When we looked at the traffic analysis between the current location, where it sits on Providence Road, and at North Avenue across from the pub, there's approximately 5,700 cars that go by North Avenue, according to the DOT, on a school day, while school's in. And down below, across from where the current center is, senior center, there's 11,000 plus cars a day that go past there. And I think, Dave, you and I have talked about the speed differences. People go slow because they're approaching intersections or coming off the intersection. If you go down where the senior center in the middle of Providence Road, they're typically doing 45 or 50 miles an hour. And from a safety standpoint, I just think, we've talked about it, it's really a better location.
It's the beginning of an intersection, and it's a school zone. So during the day, you also have the red flashing lights there, you have the school resource office there, they see a cruiser there, and that's directly across from where the entrance will be. So not only will it be beneficial to the senior center, if we develop that long-term down the road in some other type of capacity, it'll be a slow zone also for whatever we develop into there.
And the building that we're in now can be repurposed and used by either Parks and Rec or the Highway Department, so it will be reused.
And going back to an earlier conversation about the cost going up and continuing to go up, as we look at this, the cost of this building, just as we started here, has gone up significantly. But since the beginning of the pandemic, 2019 to now, cost of the construction has gone up 37%. That's based on ABC analysis and a few other construction analysis. So this is not inflation facts, regulatory facts, prevailing wage facts, and it's only going up. We discussed earlier that each month that goes by, this project could go up $100,000 minimum,
Yeah, and right now, 5% a year.
and 5% a year. But we did get hit with that 37% increase in inflation. I think we've all felt it, and we understand that, but if we don't move now, this building will only be more expensive in the future, and the need is there.
With inflation aside, building always increases anyway.
Never comes
Over a 15-year period with the police station project, the first station was proposed about 1.5 million. It would have been a bigger building than we have now. The second project was a state grant that was awarded to Mendon, and that actual building is in Holden now. We had to pay 25% of an $8 million building, so we would have to pay $2 million. And that facility would have been a police and fire station at a size of 35,000 square feet. And that's valued over $30 million now. And we ended up 15 years later with a building about 9,200 square feet for close to $7 million. So it's just being physically responsible with the funds that we have, the stewardship that we have from the taxes, and making sure we get the best deal at the time to replace what we need. Because the need is here now. It comes to a point where you actually have to do it, then you don't have a choice, and you'll be spending a lot more.
And the building will also be constructed to be solar-ready, which that's on a lot of people's minds these days.
Oh, another question is, I think we touched on a lot of these. Oh, why was the lot selected? We did a study. We looked at 4 different locations. North Ave and Hopedale Street, Morrissey Drive, which is down by the current fire station, current location, and the property at across from Clough. And after the committee doing due diligence, traffic studies, pros and cons, safety, the capabilities, we decided that, made a decision on a weighted factor that the North Ave would be the best location from a cost perspective, overall capability to build on it, and fit within the plans of the town. So that, throw that out there to you too. Another question that comes up periodically is the land environmentally safe, because it was a apple orchard way back when, the Taft Orchard. And we had test holes dug for the engineering firm D&L, and they came back with a fine report that the land is perfectly safe. Any arsenic presence that was there had deteriorated. They hired an independent state oversight company to do the soil samples. We dug 10 holes, and they came back clean. There's no concerns or issues there. I think we talked about the size of the building. We talked about, one thing we might not have mentioned, the way we're positioning this building to avoid future problems for our grandkids who are maybe living in this town, and they're raising kids, we can expand that building. It's been part of the design, so we could put that on the footprint currently there. So we wouldn't have to tear it down and go somewhere else. Let's see, it will be a green building. It's designed and capable to adapt to solar, and we will diligently work for solar grants to see if we can include that into proposal. We did not include it into the proposal because of the additional cost.
I was wondering if our architect could talk a little bit about that, because I know he has mentioned that before at some of our meetings.
Yes, please.
Right, so the building is designed as a high-performance building, which means that it is designed to use less energy to heat it, cool it, brings in natural daylight so that there is less need for intense lighting, and it is solar ready. And when you talk about a high-performance building, it's a building that exceeds energy code. We would also put all heat pumps in this building, so there'd be probably no fossil fuel in this building whatsoever, right down to where the cooking would probably be induction instead of gas. Is that good?
Thank you. Yes, thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Any other point? Anybody else have anything to add here? Or comments?
So you said there are 1,700 seniors in town today.
Yes.
What's the expected growth of the senior population in town over the next 10 or 15
I
years?
think we had those numbers, didn't we, for people who are aging into 60, 50 to 60? Someone had those numbers. I don't have them, but somebody did
I
mention.
think the projection is we're currently somewhere around 28%. In the next 4 to 5 years, we're going to be at 30%. So if we had no population growth, you'd at least get another 2 to 3% increase in senior population. But the important element, though, is this center is also a community center. When I speak about it to my daughter, and the fact that she could have a place where her family can use, and her kids are 14 and 11, and she's certainly not a senior, this has a broad possibility for many, many more things than just a senior. I'm looking at this thing as the Mendon Center, where it can become a facility that can be cornerstone, not only for seniors, but for the entire community.
And it's centrally located.
And it is centrally located. Any other questions? Dan, my computer battery died, so if there's anyone raising their hand, could you catch it?
This isn't a question, but I just want to comment that I think the design is beautiful. I love the way it looks like a barn and a house, and it's very, I feel like it really is in keeping with the rural aesthetic of Mendon, and I think it will be like a beautiful spot that I think people will really enjoy seeing as well as going to. It'll be very functional, but I think it's, I've just been very impressed that at the design and how it looks so appealing and like it should fit right into town. So I want to thank the architect for coming up with this concept.
Anything else?
It just, maybe I'll ask to put Jeremy on the spot a little bit, and I'm going to give him some time to think about it as I talk, as he is remote. I think one of the things that I heard on the last vote, the concern that I heard was that if we do this project, I can't get my project done or the subsequent projects. I don't know if we can talk a little bit how, from the town standpoint, Jeremy, we manage debt load and how we can keep, manage towards keeping that debt load level so that a lot of people they probably do understand, but we have multiple projects currently being financed simultaneously. So this idea of just one at a time or sequencing all these projects is not that they can't run parallel, it's just that we want to sequence them in a way that we can manage our debt load more effectively for the town. So I don't know, Jeremy, if you want to add to how theoretically we manage that process?
Yeah, certainly. So the town was really proactive in trying to keep its debt load outside of Proposition 2.5 somewhat level. So the impact of individual projects kind of was a little bit more muted. And of course, as the cost of things go up over time and just general inflationary pressures, our debt service is going to go up over time in a gross dollar amount, but we'll try to keep it the same or similar in a percentage of our operating budget. So we had a big fall off in fiscal 25 from somewhere around $1.1 million a year in annual debt service to down around 770 or so. So the idea in trying to pass this in the past spring was to add this debt load into fiscal 2025 and keep tax bills really level. This not hitting tax bills till 2026 means our outside Proposition 2.5 debt is going to fluctuate a little bit, but we'll see this additive impact, so this $135 I've been speaking about, that peaks in fiscal 2029. So it kind of creeps up, and the biggest impact is in fiscal 2029. So as we see other debt, the kind of takeaway from this is as we see other debt fall off, and then we can add new debt on, things like this, and things that are going to be part of the published capital improvement plan going forward, and other capital needs for the town, we can keep the outside Proposition 2.5 debt pretty consistent as a percentage of our general fund budget, and that means that the perceived impact or the actual felt impact from taxpayers is pretty consistent over time. If we let these sort of deferred maintenance and these capital issues go, what we're going to see is more of the general fund taken up by need to replace roof, need to do foundation work, need to do repointing and elevator work, and all these deferred maintenance stuff that gets more expensive on a per square foot or utilization rate basis. If we can just keep investing in the physical plant in town, our debt load will stay relatively the same while continuing to have good and usable facilities for town employees and residents.
Just to add on to that too, Jeremy, I think I heard the term due diligence, and I think that was something that in the spring we heard that, why is this coming out of nowhere? Why is this happening immediately? Did we do our due diligence? And I can guarantee you that due diligence has been done. I think Phil had mentioned it's been 10 years since we've been working on it, but even on this most recent iteration, both from a financial standpoint, a needs standpoint, I think there's been a lot of good work done to demonstrate that this need is here and that this solution addresses the current need as well as future need. So I think due diligence has been done on this project. And I think to one of the points Jeremy was laying out too, in terms of broader capital planning, these projects take lead time. So for those folks out there that watch us and say, well, I need my project done. Well, if your project hasn't started, then due diligence still needs to be done, which is why when we think about our capital planning and our financing, planning in increments of, getting started now, but not executing for 3 years or 2 years from a planning standpoint, that allows us to manage that financial impact to the taxpayer. So that's why we're starting to get underway with some of these things, looking more closely at recreational fields, the needs of the fire department, et cetera. But those are two projects that I would say are in their infancy, and I think Chief Kersey can more than speak to this better than I can, the time it takes to go from idea to execution.
It can take anywhere up to 6 years from idea to execution. I mean, from your stage where you said 2 or 3 years, that's when you actually form a committee.
Right.
You start doing the studies, but from that conception idea, it's 6 years. I mean, this project took off again once the police station was approved.
Right.
So the last TA didn't wait to say, let's just build a police station for what we're gonna do. She focused on the next project and started recruiting people and architects to bring it forward. And then it brought to a point, COVID happened and slowed it down, but then it brought to the point we have committees and actually push it forward. But, that's what should happen after we target this too. If this gets approved, then we need to start having an idea about what's the next projects that are most important needs. And with your capital plan that you're developing, you'll have that data to go forward with.
Yeah, we kind of bring it in so we know what the next step is, and we're doing some due diligence, needs analysis, et cetera, before we have to invest significant monies into a project and bring it to the floor. But that takes time. So the more we're getting into a process and a rotation of understanding what our near terms, what are we bringing to the town in November for this building, we're already working on a committee to start looking at the recreational field. So, just so if you're out there and you're listening, we haven't forgot about you.
Right. In fact, that, we hope that committee will be up and running in the next, I guess,
And I think
month or so.
we're looking for volunteers.
We
so.
are, we're, that committee should be up and running soon, I think. So I don't know if we've heard from people. I know we have individuals have expressed interest, and we hope that we will hear from more. We definitely have heard there are community groups, as well as other town officials and committees, so such as, Parks and Rec and Planning, community preservation, land use. So there are multiple bodies and individuals who are interested in really pushing that project forward, and we're thrilled that we can, facilitate that, because it will be a lot of work, but we hope that project, will be at this stage soon, in a few years. Well, maybe sooner, we don't know. And that project has Fields has the advantage of possibly using more CPA funds, whereas the nature of this project, the use of those funds is limited specifically to the recreational aspect, which, by the way, nobody's asked about that yet, but what is happening to the recreational side that was talked about in the spring plan?
The recreational components that were part of the original plan had passed the town hall.
Town meeting, right?
Town meeting, yes,
Yep.
town meeting. Did not require a ballot initiative because it is funds that we already have in the town, CPA funds. So we didn't have to go to a ballot question to do debt exclusion. And this is a debt exclusion, not a permanent override. So those things have already passed. So if this building happens, those funds can be channeled and used for that. As the Recreation Committee comes online, there may be other priorities and sets too, so maybe we may want to reconsider that. But it's part of money that we all contribute 3% to. Out of our tax bill, each one of us pay 3% towards a CPA fund. And if you follow their committees and their process, they do good for the town in many ways, but I think now we have a way to consider one of the arms that we haven't used before is the recreation side. And I think that's going to be wonderful for the town. But we do have those things available, and we'd love to incorporate them into this plan. But this plan stands on its own. I don't want to cloud it with any other issue.
Right,
There won't be additional costs for the
No
recreation.
additional.
None.
right,
You've
so,
already paid it with the 3% of your taxes.
right.
It's already, we already paid for it, no additional.
And those funds we've already appropriated?
Yes.
Cannot then be applied to this piece, this project because of the source of those funds. Those are CPA funds.
Yep.
They can't. So if people out there saying, well, instead of building fields, reduce the cost to the 11.9, we can't take those appropriated funds and apply them to the building. It's not allowed.
No, that's a state mandate.
Yeah.
They do some matching there, so we have to keep those funds clean.
And we are looking for outside funds.
Right, I was thinking the same thing. Yes,
Yes.
we have been exploring options for other state and federal assistance. Our town put in an application for a federal earmark through, like a congressional earmark through Congressman Auchincloss's office. And this project was selected as one of his set of projects that he is bringing to Congress. And so we asked for the whole amount. That was aspirational. Nobody ever gets the whole amount. But there is still the possibility that we could be receiving $850,000 from the federal government for this project. So that will that has the potential to offset some of the debt or allow us to bring back in features such as solar panels or other aspects of the project. So should that money come in, we will then have some decisions to be made about how best to fit that into the project. But that's one example. We've also pursued grants and earmarks at the state level, and we will continue to do that. But the nature of many grants is that you cannot get the funding until you have a project. And this project needs to exist in a formal way so that we can apply for some of the grants. I believe there are some emergency management grants that we will apply for, as well as potentially green communities grants to help with green energy
solar
aspects. So
There's also Mass Save for the
Right.
heat pump system, and so
Right.
there's a lot, but there has to be a project.
Right, so we will be pursuing all of these options, and we are pursuing as many as we can. And I think it's very promising that this project made it through as far as it has for the congressional earmark, because it means that this project has been vetted by people who are used to looking at many projects. I think there were something like over 30 requests that went to the congressman's office, and this made it to the top 5. So we have the support of our federal representative, as well as our state rep and our state senator. They have both expressed support for this project, and they've both expressed an interest in helping us seek out funding for this project once we have the project approved by the town.
I think that speaks to the idea of due diligence. I mean, I feel really good that the committee and the town as a whole is really exploring every option to mitigate impact to the taxpayer from the financial side, and I think we're getting better at it, which is good.
I would agree. We're trying. Any other thoughts or questions out there? Dan, anyone with questions remote? Okay. Well, I would like to thank everyone who...
Phil,
Go
can I
ahead.
just say one thing? We talked a lot about the capital plan. It's really, we started last year. We're formalizing it more, the process and the plan. But I think if people are interested in it, we'll probably have the capital plan discussion at a select board meeting coming soon.
Yes, I
Either
believe.
late October, early
October,
November. So
yeah.
if people want to see more details about that, I would say tune in.
Right.
Yeah, that would be a good session to go to.
And definitely also stay tuned for updates about the recreational fields committee, which we are going to be getting up and running. Please do contact the select board or the executive assistant if you're interested in participating in that. For that matter, if you're interested in participating in this project as well, or any other town project. We definitely welcome people's input, people's questions, people's comments. I know, we definitely welcome that, and we're working to expand our town's capacity to take on these projects, which I think we can do with help from the community.
Volunteers help.
Definitely.
It has been a pleasure this past 2 years now, I guess, but I've been involved with this, not the 10. But past 2 years to see the town mature in the process for capital planning, looking at multiple budgets and projects, stepping up and recognizing the need for recreation facilities. I remember raising my kids complaining about that 40 years ago. And it's a pleasure to see all that happening. And it is possible, I can see now that it is possible with proper capital planning, proper priority setting, to run all these multiple projects and keep the debt level somewhat consistent for the taxpayers and not have the spikes that we were so used to before. And I thank the select board. And Jeremy, thank you for your effort on this as well. And Mike, for your efforts through the years. You've worked on this project longer than I have. and the rest of the committee. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Phil, for your energy, and thank you, Dave, for bringing your experience to, a building committee, so having gone through this before with another project, so. And we're grateful to all of the committee members and the other community volunteers who really make this happen, so.
We have a lot of diversity in our.
Peg and Karen, and
committee.
Karen who's online, and Kathy, and
Okay,
many
if there-
others.
If there are no other questions or comments, I'd like to close the information meeting and then ask for a motion to close the committee meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone. If you have any questions, again, reach out to any one of us. We're available. Thanks, Frank.
Get that on camera.